So
No,
you're a
it's not like this.
philosopher? Yes. 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 Yes.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for returning to Leaders of a New School, where we look to redesign and rethink the way that education is now. So, last week we dealt with whether or not we should get rid of all schools and just start new and just start from scratch with a new why and a new how. Today we're going to look at something a little different. I had some comments I had some comments that were given to me that made me kind of think about my childhood. How many of us remember reading Rainbow and the joy that came with reading Rainbow, or going to PBS to watch Sesame Street and learning about the alphabets and the numbers, and we were singing along with them while we learned how to read? And I will forget, never forget Schoolhouse Rock. On Saturdays, watching my morning cartoons, that was a well interrupted cartoon break to hear conjunction, junction, what's your function, and all of those other ones that I learned conjunctions from. I learned verbs. I learned all types of things from these. These episodes that they would give us. And I remember even as I was older and I had my own child, I used to go to the library with my daughters every week. And it was such a joy to pick out books and read to them at night. And we just enjoyed reading. We had a love for reading, and it began with me. It began at home. My mom, she used to make books with me being the character. My character's name was Andy Pandy, and uh, and she would make these books, and then she would read these books to me, and it fostered a love of learning and a love of writing. So reading and writing was always a big part of my household. And even in school, we had to do a lot of reading. We had the Scholastic Book Fair, where I remember begging for money so that I can make sure that I buy the books that I wanted to get from Scholastic Book Fair. We also used to have this magazine. I forgot what it's called. I think it was still Scholastic, but we used to have these magazines where we would pick out the books that we wanted. We would send them to our parents. Our parents would have to give us the money. We put it in the envelope, and then we would wait maybe a couple of weeks, and the books would be delivered to the school, and we would have these new books, and it was the best thing ever. And it really fostered a love of reading and a love of literacy. And I'm wondering now, where is that love? Where's the love? Where's the love for reading? Where's the love for literacy? Have we gotten so engrossed in the digital age that we no longer care about picking up the book and turning the pages of a book and going to that imagination in our heads with the book? Now everything is TikTok, YouTube. Even though if you're watching this, keep keep watching. And matter of fact, subscribe and like and share. So I'm not down in the YouTube, but for the children, I'm asking, where's the love of literacy? One of my subscribers made a comment, emailed a comment on my Facebook page, and stated how literacy is connected, or illiteracy is connected to the prisons. And it made me kind of wonder, we do have a lot of prisons being built, but we have schools closing, we have libraries closing. Is this the new design of our school? Are we creating fourth graders for jail? So when we take a look at the national assessment, I'm just going to throw out a little bit of statistics so that we can have a conversation built upon facts, or at least educated opinions. Okay? According to the National Assessment of Adult Literacy, it says two-thirds of students who cannot read proficiently by the end of the fourth grade will end up in jail or on welfare. The Department of Justice states the link between academic failure and delinquency, violence, and crime is welded to reading failure, where over 70% of inmates in American prisons cannot read above a fourth grade level. When inmates who left school before receiving a high school diploma were asked the main reason they dropped out of school, this is according to the Department of Justice statistics, one third reported they lost interest or experienced academic difficulty. Annie E. Casey Foundation wrote in the article Early Warning, the process of dropping out begins long before high school. It stems from loss of interest in middle school, often triggered by retention in grades, and that in great many cases is the result of not being able to read proficiently as early as fourth grade. What is happening to our school systems? And what do we need to do to get us back on track? If literacy is indeed the key and the link to a better way of life, to staying away from the prisons, why aren't we focused more on literacy in our schools? Why are we not creating campaigns and true campaign ads for adults? Why aren't we working to put the funding into libraries so libraries can stay open and they can have programs and we can get libraries into the schools? What are we doing to service our youngsters so that they can have a higher rate of literacy? And what is happening in the schools that by fourth grade you're still not able to read well? I am under the impression that it takes a team. You know, I taught, as you guys, if this is your first time tuning in, I have my master's in education and in special education. I taught for over 30 years. I was a reading specialist as well as a math specialist, and I taught in the US as well as overseas. So I'm well aware that it does take a team. It's not just the teachers that are responsible for the literacy of our children. The parents have to be involved. The teachers have to teach and not just push the students through. If that child is not developing the skills that's needed, they have to be willing to put in the extra. And it doesn't mean that teachers are not doing this. It means that maybe the pressure from the admin or pressure even from the government to get test scores might be daunting. It might be, I'm not going to say might be. I know that even with myself, when I dealt with special education in the Bronx in New York, it was disheartening because I had 12th graders that didn't know how to read, but yet I had to get them prepared to take their testing so that they can graduate. When you do not have the support of the government, you do not have parents that maybe don't know how to, they don't know where to go to help their children to read, especially if if English is their second language, or they haven't grown up in a strong literacy environment themselves. If they don't know how to support, and we have teachers that's developing burnout, we have all of these entities that are working against the goal of literacy for our students, and it's our children that are paying the price. And this is not just an American problem. In the UK, it's the same. They said that over 70% of their prisoners could not read past the level of an 11-year-old, which is still basically fifth grade. So this is a global issue. This is a global issue. However, in the Western countries, it appears that the main focus is in the capitalism and not in the citizenship. So we see all of these, we see big business happening. But while the big business is happening, the little people, the children, the ones who's going to come up in the society, they're being left behind. So this is something that I want to try to discuss. And as always, we're looking for solutions. We're not looking for the problems. We know the problems. If you do a YouTube search or you do a Google search, everyone is talking about the school to prison pipeline. So we know that there's an issue. This is not argument. This is not what the argument is. We are trying to determine how we can be advocates for our children. How can we change this system or throw it all away and design a new system? What system is going to help us so that our children will be safe again, that they will have literacy, that they will have a place where learning is actually happening, and not just in the particular counties that maybe have more money or they have a different demographic, but everywhere where there is a learning system that is equitable for everyone. I have a special guest today that we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss this, and we're going to find out what type of design is needed. What do we need to do to redesign and rethink literacy in our schools? I hope that you stay tuned. Thank you.
So
Welcome
you're a
back, everyone.
philosopher?
And as
Yes.
I was stating before, I have a very special guest that will be able to talk with us about literacy in the field of education, as well as outside of education, as well as being an author and helping literacy this way as well. So my next special guest is Mariam. I know her as Jueria. And she Jueria has been, I think, an educator for, has it been about 15, 20 years now?
I'm going on year 17, alhamdulillah.
Year 17, year 17, mashallah. We met in Kuwait. Well, we met actually, we have roots in Baltimore. Her husband's in Baltimore, from Baltimore. So we have roots from Baltimore, but we were actually colleagues in Kuwait. And this is where I was able to actually see her in action as a teacher. And since then, she has written, I believe, 3 or 4 books. Am I?
6, alhamdulillah. We're on
6?
6, mashallah.
Okay, mashallah. So I'm well behind. Okay, so you have written 6 books, and you're also a co-founder. You're a founder of Muslims Read, correct?
Yep, Muslim Girls Read.
All right. So I always like to begin with the how or the why. Before the break, we were discussing literacy in America as well as a whole globally, and how illiteracy is becoming, I guess, the hot topic, or always has been the hot topic. But since COVID, we've seen that the literacy rates have gone down, with particularly the 3rd and the 4th graders. And we read the statistics that stated that if a child is illiterate by 3rd or 4th grade, that it increases their chances of going to prison, or being on welfare, or getting into a non-productive citizenship pathway. And so we would like to discuss this. I also wanted to ask you the question of, why do you think illiteracy is becoming such a hot focus? Or why do you think that the rates have increased with illiteracy, and why are we catching it? To me, it seems like it's a bigger problem if my child went from all the way to 3rd to 4th grade for it to be a problem. So what can we do? What can we do, and how can we catch if our children are struggling early on? So first, the why. Why do you think illiteracy is becoming this huge topic?
in the United States or globally? Are we going to go into both of those
We can,
areas?
I would like for us to start small, start nationally, and then
Yeah,
go globally, because you and I both can speak on the
yeah, we can definitely talk
international
about what's
aspect.
going on
Yeah.
over there. But and I think they have to be differentiated as well because there are different issues globally than there are within the United States. But I'll definitely start in the United States. Definitely urban education is my heart and soul. Um, and I will say that there's always been, at least in our generation, an issue with literacy. This is actually
Mm,
going back to my undergraduate studies, before the
mm,
master's. Um, since Brown versus the Board of Education was passed,
mm,
we go
mm.
way back.
Wow.
Brown versus the Board of Education, when we're
Mm,
talking about minority communities and illiteracy, we start
mm.
to see a rise in those rates in the late 60s and 70s with the
Yes.
breakdown of communities, with the
The
breakdown
family
of
structure.
resources, with the
Mm-hmm.
infiltrating of outside entities to run schools and
Mm-hmm.
to put in communities a standardized way of learning,
Ah,
which
yes.
absolutely, and you can see the statistics. You can go back and look at the statistics and where they start making that dip. And it's really phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Board of Education, the Department of Education, they know this, they have documented this. Um, the dip in the variety of educators, the loss of men in education, the loss of minorities in education.
Yes.
When you
Yes.
close schools and communities and bus children into other communities and have these standardized ways of judging their performance
Yes.
that doesn't look like the way that it should in suburbia, it makes it
Mm.
more challenging. And then we also start to see, oh, well, these students are so hyper. We want them to sit down all day and they
Mm.
can't sit down all day. So now we need to bring in more sped teachers because they're not conforming to what
Right.
we think, what we
Right.
say literacy should be at this particular point.
Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
that's the myth and the problem, but also the
Mm.
solution. There is a problem. It's not a
Mm.
myth,
Mm.
but standardized way of teaching, standardized ways of judging performance has been RSA should has created an epidemic of losses for many generations. And then we are talking about social economic issues, right? That started to happen in the
Yes.
70s, late 70s, 80s, the crack era,
Yes.
industrial prison complex, on top of the other issues that were happening.
Yes.
We forget that after Brown versus the Board of Education, Native American schools were closed down.
Mm.
Black-owned schools were closed down
Yes.
all up and down the East Coast, across the United States, the West Coast. Schools that were run by the communities were closed so
Mm.
that outsiders can come in, and to
Yes.
educate the kids and have this standardized way of teaching that was
Right.
foreign, that did not really appreciate. We talk about, right? We talk about how important cultural responsiveness is in the
Mm.
classroom, you know? But when you
Yes.
have people who don't understand the culture, who don't understand um, the literacies that children bring with them, because everyone has literacy, everyone
Mm-hmm.
has a form of communication that is important to their community, to their families, that has to be identified and respected. So when you start to
Mm.
hear, don't do it like this, don't talk like that, don't, and all of
Right.
these other things, the policing of learning, right? The
Mm. The
policing of
policing of
learning.
learning. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then on top of that, so you have the kids really becoming um, apathetic about learning. And then on top of that, you replace learning in the communities, right? Because they don't feel that they're measuring up. And then you replace it with all sorts of degenerate behavior, you know, gangster rap, social media,
Yes.
everything to take their minds away from, of course, and we have to delve into this, the breakdown of the family,
Yes.
single family homes, especially single Black and brown female run homes where mother is doing everything, right?
Mm,
She's cooking,
mm,
she's cleaning, she's working. She's tired when she gets home. Not that she doesn't
right.
care, but she's tired. And you got 3 hours worth of homework. Something has to give,
Right.
right? Or, it's the weekend and she needs a nap, or she just needs to go out for a little bit to get a break. So you get the tablet instead of a book or the library, right?
Mm, mm,
Because there's no one else to help. So the breakdown of family, right? It's a family support systems. It's also that culture of that we see so much, and we see this also being infiltrated into the schools through um, social workers, therapists. You know, well, if grandma doesn't respect you the way you want to be respected, set up a boundary. You don't need grandma.
right. Right.
But grandma was taking, the kids to the library because, mom had to work on the weekends. So now
Mm,
grandma's cut out. Our granddad is cut out. Our brother is cut out. Our sister is cut out because we can't resolve conflict. We can't
mm,
overcome conflict. We're not patient enough. We're not disciplined enough. We're not loyal enough. And all of this
mm,
affects literacy rates. Sometimes, not always, but this
right.
ideal that, you know, individualism, and I say rugged individualism. Just take
Mm,
care of yourself. And you see
mm,
this, especially in urban communities. I got to do what's good for me. I got to get what's mine. I got to get a bag. And that doesn't include reading, right? That doesn't include me sitting in this chair for, 60 minutes or 45 block,
right.
because I can go on TikTok and I can dance. I can do a TikTok
Mm,
dance for 15 seconds
right.
and
Right.
get, 500,000 views.
So would we say, because you brought in so many dynamics that affect the literacy rates in the urban areas, would we say that literacy then begins at home?
Of course, it
So, and
does. It does, and we have to recognize that absolutely. The breakdown of community, of family time, of time, just time to be with your children, right?
right.
Whether it's breastfeeding or making your own food, or but we're on the go so much, right? Because a
Mm,
lot of people are in debt, or people are trying to get money and things of that nature. So it's go, 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 go.
right.
And that's not with every family, but many families are stuck in that particular cycle, right? And so again, education keeps being pushed lower and lower and lower on the totem pole. But at the same time, parents expect, right, the school to be a
Right.
one-stop shop.
And that's
Teach,
it's funny that you
educate
said it,
them,
because I was about to
love them,
mention that. Yeah.
train them,
Right.
discipline them. Don't discipline them too much. Don't hold them too
Exactly.
accountable, but do
Ex-
everything I can't do. And that's just
Exactly.
not how it works. And what we've seen with these one-stop shops, we have before care, after care, lunchtime, playtime, dinner time in some schools, dinner time. Bring your clothes in, we'll wash your clothes. Wonderful. But at the same time, it creates these ideals that school is the center of a child's life. And it's
When it
not.
should not be. It should not
It's
be.
not. It's a facade. We know what's happening in public school. The
Yeah.
more we do for them, the less they are appreciative.
Yes. Yes.
The disrespect has gone up through the roof since the pandemic.
Right.
Like
Right.
they're literally hiring police officers inside, outside of schools because these parents and the children are just out of control, not
So
appreciating how much it takes to do what we do for them.
exactly, this is true. I'm wondering now, because I never, like I told my audience before, I never like to dwell on a problem without having some type of solution that we
Mm-hmm.
can give. And it seems like a daunting task, because you're up as educators anyway, and as even mothers and fathers who would like to homeschool, we're up against a lot. We're up against the
Mm.
digital age. We're
Yeah.
up against the government
Mm-hmm.
telling us how we can parent and how we supposed to do schooling and these type of things. How and we have to break the, I call it the unteaching of what has been
Mm-hmm.
going on for years and decades and generations, of ignorance, actually,
Yeah.
where ignorance has become the standard. And it's okay to, I had students who knew how to do text talk, but not regular talk. And it
Right.
was really hard to teach spelling when they only understood the text, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because their
Mm-hmm.
parents, some ownership has to go. I would say a lot of ownership has to go onto the parents, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you go into the homes and you see the parents do not have literacy themselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you're also on the sneak trying to teach the parent while you're
Mm-hmm.
teaching the child, because you have to teach the parent how to teach the child. So it seems like such a daunting task. But what is what is what's the solution for the listeners? Let's take it first in the homes. What do we need to do in the homes to connect with the teachers and to connect with our children, so that we're balancing it out? In my household, I don't like, we don't do TikTok, my little ones. We don't do the TikTok. We don't do they don't do Instagram. They don't have these type of things. But there are homes that they have them, and it's okay. But how do we balance it out so that we are teaching our children? Because we're supposed to be the first teachers. The mothers and the
Absolutely.
fathers are
That's the
supposed to be the first
responsibility of the
teachers.
community.
So what is the solution we can give to the mothers and the fathers who's feeling the daunting task? Maybe they don't know how to recognize that their children aren't reading
Mm-hmm.
properly. How can we recognize that our children aren't reading on the levels where they are supposed to, so that we can advocate for our child?
You know, I well, you've already identified it, right? The family. It starts there. So we really have to get back to empowering and engaging
Mm,
with families and communities and building those networks. Because I think right now in this society, and this is globally, everyone is feeling the pinch, right?
mm,
Inflation, the work, debt, whatever it may be, even lack of family. And I've seen this in the Gulf as well, in Muslim countries as well. Sometimes
mm.
families are not connected.
Yes,
Build a tribe, right?
yes.
We're not perfect. And Allah did not
Mm,
create us to be perfect. And
mm,
so before we start talking about what a child doesn't have, let's build. Let's
mm.
build the network. Let's build the tribe. Plug back in with your sister friends. Don't cut off your sister friends. Don't
Yeah.
cut off your families. Learn to start working and repairing, making dua,
Mm,
making dua for
mm,
yourself, making dua for your family members, making dua for your children,
mm.
and to repair that Allah repairs those connections and that He strengthens you in support. That is such an
Mm,
important dua for Muslim families to make. Pray for your
yeah.
children. Pray for them to
Yes.
be strong and educated and be open to learning, and that they're going to gain wisdom. That starts right there with that dua. It is the weapon for the believer. Go make dua and then start holding yourself accountable for repairing those relationships. Allah
Mm,
created us to be a community. He obligated us to be a ummah. You
mm,
cannot do it alone. So if
mm.
you don't have the skills, somebody in your tribe will have something,
And
right?
that's
Get
important.
something
That's
from
very
somebody
important,
else.
because we've lost that. And as a African American as well, we come from, that's our heritage.
That
Our,
is.
we had the extended aunties and uncles
Yeah.
and grandmothers. We had this extension of family that we have lost,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes even more isolated. I won't get into it too much, but it becomes even more isolated when you are the only Muslim in your family. it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a little bit more isolated, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So understanding that you need your tribe,
You
that you
do.
need a tribe, that you need someone that you can go to that say, hey, how do I teach this? Or hey, I need a break. Can you
Mm-hmm.
can we
Can we
homeschool
switch
together?
off?
Can we do
Can
this
I help
together?
you on
Can
this day?
yes,
Children need a
yes,
tribe.
yes. So that
That's part
that
of their foundation. A good
absolutely. And that's
tribe, you
across the
know.
board. And I see this, I'm in a lot of homeschool networks, and I see this even outside of the Muslim communities. People rely on each other. This is
Mm-hmm.
something that we have stopped doing, but I've seen it in other communities where they still do rely on one another. So we do, that's an excellent point to get back to being a tribe and not
Mm-hmm.
being isolated or being thinking I'm superwoman, it's all in me.
Now that's a myth. And it's a dangerous myth because it leads to all sort of health problems,
Yes.
mentally and physically. We got to break out of
Yes.
that script that has been forced upon us, you know, like the Disney stuff. Just throw it away. Just throw it away. That's not our story. That's not our
Absolutely.
narrative as Muslims. That's not our narrative as women. We have to break out of these scripts that have been placed on us. The
Absolutely.
next thing is I hear a lot of parents, especially with I'm you know I'm a secondary educator, so I usually get the kids, um, high school, middle school, and eighth grade, ninth grade, 12th grade challenges. But what I really want to say to primary educators is instead of focusing on what the student cannot do, right? What are they doing well?
Ah,
Push that, build from there. Again, we've been given this standardized script, teach like I'm not going to say the book's name, that has,
yes.
pushed across the country, do it like this, one, two, three, all eyes on me, do this,
Yes.
do that, timestamp this, teach in this robotic way. Another thing, teach from bell to bell, all of those silly things um,
Yes.
that plays down on individuality and differentiation.
Mm.
Everybody, every child has some ability, even our
Yes.
exceptionally learning students, right? They all
Mm.
have some strengths. Play on that and build from there. Stop worrying so much about what they cannot do. These
Mm.
standardized tests, data is great. I know you're a mathematician.
Uh,
Data
I
is
do like
great.
data.
Data's great to show you what it is, but data can be dangerous when you use it as the be all end all
Yes.
for someone that Allah created.
Yes.
He's having challenges reading in third or fourth grade. Yes, the data shows us that if we
Mm-hmm.
don't fix it, these things will happen. And the
Absolutely.
data is overwhelming. And I've seen it. I have seen it. It's
Yes.
real. If you don't
Yes.
start to remedy those things and build and praise and give that child something to hold on to, by eighth grade it's going to be really hard to turn that door. Not because they cannot learn, not because they can't learn, because of a mindset. Because of the mindset, they don't want to
Mm.
try.
Right.
I've seen,
It
I've,
lose the
I,
growth mindset.
right. They
Mm.
get locked in. The
Mm.
teacher's not going to like me. The work's going to be too hard. I'm bored. The kids are making fun of me. I got to go to a special group. They know I can't read or they know I can't add. So now I have all these labels on me. They know I'm a problem and I don't want to deal with it.
Mm.
That's normal.
Yes.
It's human.
Yes.
So what we have to do is go back to the foundation. What are you good at? What do you like? That's the first thing that I talk to students about. Like, what are you great at? What do you do?
Mm.
What do you like? What's your biggest goal? Where do you see yourself? How are you gonna get there?
Absolutely.
How can I help you? Okay.
Absolutely.
The other key thing that is missing is that we do again focusing so much on the data. Um, and we don't utilize collaboration with the student.
Mm.
Okay, this is, we're doing RTI, so I'm going to make my response to intervention. It's going to go one, two, three, and I'm going to do this, but you're not talking to the student. right?
Mhm.
We need to have that communication. They need to understand, even first graders, they know when they're struggling. We all do.
Yes.
They
Yes.
know. So
Yes.
talk to them about that. How do you
Mm,
feel about that? What do you want to be able to do? What words
that's
would you like to be able to read? What books
right.
would you like to be able to read? Make it big.
This
Bring
is this is a
passion. Connect it
this is
back to
really good.
everything. And so that
Absolutely.
has to be the key. Not coming into the school, not, approaching the teacher, he's behind. He's not
Right.
behind. He's in the third grade. He's where Allah
Mm,
wants him to be. Can we
mm,
get him somewhere else? Can we
right.
support him? Absolutely. But the
Right.
ideal that we speak about students in this way, they're
And you
behind.
know what?
They're low.
I'm glad you're speaking on this, because one of the things that I'm not in the classrooms anymore, but one of the things that I've always tried to change with the speech of the parent and the
Mm-hmm.
other teachers and even admin is that idea of he needs to catch up,
Yeah.
he's behind,
Yeah.
and these type of words, it's
We got to watch
what it
that. We
does
got to
is
watch
it
that.
doesn't it not only does it affect the student, but it also affects the parents with
Absolutely. Because they're
this
afraid,
thinking
they're
that my
scared,
child
they're
has to
worried.
be on this particular level right now, and
Yeah.
then they begin to put all of that stress onto the child,
Kind of low.
you know.
And here's the
So
thing.
it becomes one of those things where it becomes a vicious cycle
Yes.
where the child then just shuts down,
Yeah.
you
Absolutely.
know,
Because words are
when it's
powerful.
and even right now we're doing a program online, and for my viewers, the link will be down at the bottom, but we're doing a program now online where you can work with your child, where we work with your child's strengths to increase their weaknesses. And you
Mm-hmm.
can do that. You can use their
You can.
strengths, you can use their love of science, their
Mm-hmm.
love of math. I
Mm-hmm.
always tell everyone math is all about reading, where it's
Yeah.
just reading a different language, but it's still
Yes.
reading. So these are the
Yes.
things that I always try to keep everyone in mind. I want to I want to touch on the good things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your own YouTube channel as well for children. So can you speak to us about this? And for our viewers, the links will be online, as well as the Amazon links to the books will also be online, so that you can look at the books, check them out. Please check out the YouTube channel as well. Can you speak to us about this?
Absolutely. But I just want to really quickly, because I didn't get to give you some more tips, and I want your viewers to know reading
Mhm.
10 to 15 minutes a day, right, with your
Ah,
child is great. Read aloud, choral reading, read in a sing song voice with them, put up words in your house, put bed, write it on their bed,
yeah,
put words on their door. You can also have them do writing, work on their penmanship so that they're building up their grit to write. Even if they are in the second or third grade, we see students in high school who have poor penmanship because they were
yes.
never trained
Especially
to
since they
write.
took cursive out of the curriculum
There's
now.
that too, but they took all the penmanship out. So it's like they don't even have the grit. Start just, have them tracing words, color words, write a sentence a day. So many things. Ask them questions, inquisitive
Yes,
questions. What do
yeah,
you like? What's your favorite color? There's so many activities that you can do. And you can play a story, a read aloud. If you don't have time, put on a read aloud. There's thousands of books on YouTube that you can play. It's not just
yes,
music and all that entertainment stuff. There's a whole educational side of YouTube
yes,
that you can tap in for free. There's so many things. Many libraries in the United States have online libraries where you can get your library card in a second. They will email it to you. Use that card to get those resources. And if you don't know something as a parent, find out. Go get the
yes,
book from the library. Watch the YouTube video. Talk to a teacher. Send an email. Talk to a friend. They have
yes,
older children. What were your children doing at this age? What sort of books? You know, be a community. And I think that's really what the important message is. It does not take a lot of money. It doesn't
mm,
even take a lot of time. Just a
mm,
little bit consistently.
yes.
That's it. So, all right, moving on, inshallah, to what I am doing. So, back in, I would say 2012, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, we started Muslim Girls Read Inc. It is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And I started that in Kuwait. Yeah. 2012, 13. That's when we went
Yeah,
there. Yeah. That's
yeah.
when we went there. And subhanAllah, I was in Kuwait, but there was another sister in a big city. I won't name the city name, but the sister, subhanAllah, she had a fire in her home, single mother,
Mm.
and she was online and she said, subhanAllah, we lost everything, but I'm just so sad because my daughter, she loves books. She loves to read, and she lost every book that I've ever bought for her. And like, these books are expensive. Like they were hardcover books, soft cover books. She had series. And she's like, we don't have anything for her to read. We're in a homeless shelter. And subhanAllah, so me and my daughter, we started Muslim Girls Read, which is a nonprofit to get Muslim girls and boys reading and writing their way to success, inshallah. And so we give out books throughout the year. We give out books throughout the year to Muslims, organizations, to Muslim schools. We give out books to families who are in need, and we raise
Mm.
funds for that. But we also started during the pandemic because it was also a huge issue when all the kids were home. We started doing online
Yes.
programming. So we do classes online on Saturdays
Oh,
and Sundays.
nice.
We do workshops, and that's since the pandemic we've been
And what
doing.
age group is it for?
Right. So we are 8 through 18. And then we also have some other programmings coming up for older teens as well in that 18 to 21 space as well. So we do
Perfect.
all sorts of writing programs. We do our little Talim, which is a base of reading and writing and Islamic based knowledge as well. So we try to do a
Perfect.
little bit of all of that
Perfect.
together, inshallah. And then, of
Perfect.
course, we have now Muslim Girls, and we morph that into Muslim Girls Read Media, where we are now creating read alouds for Muslim youth that are culturally appropriate and representative of American Muslims. Well, alhamdulillah, and
This
stories
is
about
great.
the
And this
lives
is
of
the
the
one, this is
children.
your YouTube channel
That is what the YouTube
where
channel
they'll
is,
do
inshallah.
audio books. Okay. And viewers, go into the comments. Don't forget to go into the comments, and you'll be able to see the link to the YouTube channel. What's the name of the channel?
It is Muslim Girls Read Media.
Muslim Girls Read Media. Great, thank you. And while we're speaking, I have to do a shameless plug. Please remember to, if you're watching this, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. We want to try to continue to speak about education reform. And we want to be able to put the word out that there is another way of doing education. You don't have to do it the way that we're being spoon fed. And we can learn to design our own education and our own way of learning. So this is what our videos are going to be about. And I would love to have even Umdraria maybe even do a workshop with us of how to teach our children how to write, because the first book, Hen's Hand, was co-written by your daughter,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is wonderful.
2009. 2009. She was 8 years old when
Eight
she her
years
eight
old,
years
and
old
she
when she
already has
became a
a
published
credit of
author.
writing.
Well, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So we would love to learn how we can get our children to even do that,
Mm-hmm.
to become authors and get a love of reading. But the first segment, I spoke of how my love of reading came from my mom. She used to write children's stories for me,
Mm-hmm.
and she would input me as one of the characters.
Yeah.
And this, my mom died young, but this is when I was maybe about 4 or 5, and I still remember the books, and it's something that I wanted to do for my daughters. And now my daughters are writing. Halima, she
Mm-hmm.
she has written a book, and my other daughters, they write as well. So it really starts with us creating that love
Yeah.
for reading, that love for
Absolutely.
writing. So I'm hoping that I can get you back and have you do
Inshallah.
a workshop with us so that we can learn and grow together this way as well, inshallah.
Inshallah.
I thank you so much for your time, so much for your time, and for all of the valuable input that you have given us. I wish that we had more time So because I know there's so much more that we needed to speak about. I'm still wondering how we can do how we can tear down
Hmm.
the school system as we know it and rebuild it. I know
Yeah,
that's a hard thing to do, but I feel that if each classroom, each parent, each hallway that we start implementing our ways and we start implementing our designs, that they will have no choice but to listen to us for our own,
absolutely.
in our own schools, because everyone would love to build their own schools, of course, but we can't. So
Hmm.
we have to kind of work with what we're given, but
Hmm.
just because we're given it doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to change it. At least this is
Hmm.
my thoughts.
Absolutely. Inshallah.
Absolutely. So once again, just thank you so much, Jazakallah khairan, for
وإياكِ.
coming and being a part of this podcast. And everyone, please remember you can also hear the podcast on Spotify and Apple, as well as Buzzsprout. So all of those links and everything will be down there. And Onjuadia, anything else you would like to say before we leave?
I just say to the Muslim families, regardless of where you are or what you are doing, that education is so crucial to our ummah. No matter where you are, whether you are in the Gulf or or in some other place or outside of the West, or you are in the West, where it is becoming clear, very clear, that the public school system, especially, is in a bind, right? It's broken, and we know that as educators, and parents know it too, and the students know it as well. But as
Yeah.
Muslims, right, that first word that the angel Jibril alayhi salam gave to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ikra, is not just metaphorical. It
Yes.
was a command, right?
Yes.
So education is extremely important. Feed your children's mind, give them good things to do, and make
Mm.
that a habit in your home. Make that a priority, and really try to, inshallah, um, help them, guide them, love them. Love is so important. We didn't talk about
Yeah.
that, but love is a part of education, right? So
Yes.
love them, inshallah, and don't shame them, don't blame them. Just really try to support them and be patient, right? Say, I
Yes.
believe in Allah, and then be patient upon what you call to, inshallah.
Yes. Thank
That's
you.
what we are called to do. We're not called to be perfect. Make the dua and trust in Allah that if you tie your camel, Allah will come to your aid. Do what you need to do, and Allah will help you with your
Yes.
child, and make
Yes.
dua for them. And make dua for them.
Yes. Yes. And for the entire ummah.
Ameen, ameen, ameen,
Yeah.
ameen.
I
Allahumma
mean,
barak.
Jazakallahu khairan. Thank you once again, and I look forward to speaking with you. Stick around. You stick around so we can talk. We can chit chat a little bit more. and I'm
Inshallah. Assalamu
and,
alaikum wa rahmatullah.
and everyone else, thank you so much for being with us, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode and enjoy and come back again for the next episode where we try to change or redesign or rethink the way that education is now. Thank you for joining Leaders of a New School. Guys, have a great day.
So
No,
you're a
it's not like
philosopher?
this.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.